So, a story is told of a man who found himself in prison mistakenly. It was a case of mistaken identity. And so, this man found himself in prison. He had been sentenced to serve 5 years in prison, and it felt quite a load for him because he could not understand how he was going to waste 5 years of his life because of something that he had not even done. And so this man, as he was in prison, he was praying and trusting God. He was crying to God and asking God to vindicate him because he had tried to plead his case, with the authorities, but nothing seemed to work. And so it came to a time that he was almost giving up. And it is on this point that, he met a guy who was working in the prison that he was in. And this guy, he was a fellow prisoner. But because he had served in that prison for so long, he had become a trustee and he was entrusted, you know, with the duties of burying people when they die. And so this guy saw how uh, the person that I'm talking about was suffering because he was in jail for the wrong reason. And so he came up with a plan. And together, they agreed that they agreed that this guy is not going to serve the entire term. But at some point, what do we call these people that bury people? Let's just call him the funeral manager. So the funeral manager was determined to save this guy. But the only way he could save this guy is by putting him in a coffin and taking him out of the prison. But there was an issue. The only way a coffin would find its way into the prison is if somebody died. And so they decided that when the next person die, I will blow the whistle as I always do. Because when somebody died, the funeral manager always blows a whistle, to alert people that has died and it is time for the person to be buried. So he agreed with this guy that when you hear the whistle, just know that there's somebody who has died. And what I want you to do is just to come out of wherever you are going to be, go open the casket, get in, lie together with the person that is in the casket, now the person that I'm going to bury, and cover the casket so that people are not going to see you. And the day came. The plan was that after the guy has gotten into the casket, the funeral manager will come and take the casket out, go and actually bury the person now together with this guy. And then later in the night, after some few hours, he will come back and dig him out of the grave. And that is how he's going to be saved. And so the day came and somebody died. And the whistle was blown. And this guy came from wherever he was, went direct to the casket and lay beside the person that was dead, and he covered the cover of the casket. True to the funeral manager's word, he came took the casket, put it in the car, and drove off to the cemetery now for the burial. So the burial went on. They got to the cemetery, and the funeral manager buried the casket as they had agreed and went back. So 1 hour down the line, our guy is still in the grave. 2 hours, still in the grave. 3 hours, and when it got to 4 hours, it was really getting hot down there, and he was beginning to get uncomfortable. And so he started wondering, where is the funeral manager? Why is he not coming to dig me out as we had agreed? But he kept hope alive and said, let me just give him a few more minutes. Maybe he's just somewhere. But he is coming because he promised me that he is coming. An hour later, nobody had come. The funeral manager had not yet come. And it is at this point that the guy, turned because he was uncomfortable. And when he turned and looked at the person that was in the casket, the person that had died, the person that he was buried together with, shook on him. The person that he has been expecting to come and save him is the person that he was buried together with. It is the funeral manager who had promised to come and save him that had actually died, and now they were buried together with nobody to come and save them, because nobody knew that this other guy was in the casket. It is only the funeral manager who knew, because it was actually their plan. And there he was in the grave with the corpse of the funeral manager already dead. And it dawned to him at this point that that is how his life has ended, that nobody is coming to save him. And he died a painful death, the death of being buried alive. And when I heard this story, I just asked myself, if this guy did not put his trust on this funeral manager, probably he could still be alive. He could have served his 5 years and got out of prison and continued with his life. But he chose to put his trust in a mere mortal, somebody that can die the next minute, just like it happened in this case. Because literally, the funeral manager died a day after they had made this plan. And I asked myself, how many times do we put our full trust on human beings and we end up failing terribly? Because we forgot that we have God that we can call unto. And even if we feel that, he's taking a lot of time, he will surely come. And remember, he's not like a man to fail you. He will surely come. He might be late, but he will surely come. He might be late. So let us learn to trust and wait upon God. Let us not become like this guy who put his life and his trust on the funeral manager, and they ended up being buried together. So that is all for today. If you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly consider subscribing. Let us continue growing. We shall continue sharing more inspirational stories. Peace.